As real estate professionals, we are told that if we go out and buy leads, somehow we'll figure out how to convert those leads into sales and we'll build an awesome real estate business. The truth is that model is dead. With lead conversion at an all-time low, we need to ask ourselves this question. How do we build a profitable business that has clients coming back to us, generating more repeat business and referrals, while in the meantime, increasing our lead conversion rate to be profitable on the front end? Real Insider Pro is here to help you answer that question.
Hey everybody, this is Isaiah Colton with Isaiah Colton and Company, and I'm really excited to walk you through a very, very important conversation. It's part two of a series I'm doing called Niche Domination, where we're going to be talking about all things internet leads, and more importantly, how to dominate that as a niche. Working internet leads can be very different than working like a geographical farm. Even though some of these principles do cross over, we really want to give you a step-by-step approach to make sure that if you're going to go out there and spend money on internet leads, that number one, you have the right mindset approaching the leads, and number two, that you can maximize your ROI when it comes to lead conversion. And I got very lucky this week, and I actually saw that Mr. Gabe Cordova just got married. I saw that pop up in my feed, and I had somebody cancel out, and I'm like, you know what, this guy, I couldn't think of a better person to actually have this conversation with than Gabe, because of his background. He is an industry influencer. He has a huge, massive following because of his success and previous ventures. And I don't know, am I allowed to say the previous ventures? I don't know if it matters or not.
It doesn't matter. Yeah, you can.
Yeah. So he's the founder at FirePoint, which is became one of the most successful CRMs and technology solutions in the industry. Has had a ton of success in the real estate business prior to that. Had a massive successful business, and now is just doing some awesome things with sharing all things about lead conversion and database, and really pioneering what Ylopo is doing in their world. And so, Gabe, I'm really excited to have you, have you a part of this podcast here today.
Thanks for having me. We always have such a good time, just like in the weeds, out there doing it with it, the role playing. This guy is one of the best guys to role play with, script training, all that. So no, I love it. And when we started talking about kind of what we're talking about, I'm like, yes, this is really passionate. It's one of my passions, and I'm really passionate about it. And one of the founders of FirePoint, like you mentioned, and was president for several years. Successfully sold that to another company, transitioned out late last year. And honestly, what I was super excited about, first of all, getting back licensed. I don't know if I told you, so I'm back reactivated. I deactivated just for conflict of interest reasons, as I was managing people's databases at FirePoint. And all that. I just went ahead and deactivated my license, but reactivated. Getting back out there, we're recruiting, rebuilding the team in Boise that I had for years and years. And man, it's been incredible getting and like going with some of these new agents on listing appointments, on some consults, and just really getting back in the trenches. And then really this opportunity as a senior realtor in residence with Ylopo is incredible, because I basically get to now share at a different level. Like you and I have been sharing for years. We see each other on the road all the time. Yeah. And what I'm super excited about is literally getting in and saying, okay, here's what I'm actually doing today. Not what I did 3 years ago when we sold 800 homes in a year, but what we're doing today. Here's how we're, building Boise back up to how it was, when I was there. Here's what we're doing in Denver to rebuild a team now. And then piggybacking it with all the insane technology that Ylopo is doing, and then getting to be one of their senior realtor in residence to share that and help teams implement it and do a lot of what we're talking about for the next, 45 minutes. So I'm excited.
I love it too. And that's what I admire about you. You're not willing to, you're not afraid to go get in the trenches. And
no, I was literally making some calls right before this. I'm like, there are a few people that bubbled up in the database, and most of our team are actually on listing appointments today. And I'm like, I'm gonna let them sit there, so I'm actually in there dialing. Yeah.
Yeah, that's why, even though I've been distracted lately because of the expansion of Real Estate Nexus, we have a huge emphasis on making sure we're practicing what we preach with our team over here at Realty Home Advisors, for the brokerage side of things. And it helps you, keeps you on your toes, and make sure that what you're talking about is still relevant, right? And it's still working. So let's, if it's cool with you, let's get into the first question that I have for you, and let's start some dialogue here. So, common misconceptions on what an inbound lead is, and what are the expectations around inbound leads and the conversion, this whole conversation. So,
One of my favorite things, like going to a conference, like, yeah, my lead conversion is at 4.5%. My lead conversion 7%. So what I love about that, I think the question I think you said is the common misconception about inbound
yes.
of the conversion.
Yes.
First of all, you can have a blended conversion. I think we all do, but like numbers, anything you can really, manipulate and fudge numbers. What I think the misconception is that all leads, or if we're really being honest, these people, right? These are relationships. We've gotten a really bad habit of saying that they're leads, like they're not real people, like they're not relationships, that we're forming. And so I think what's happening is agents aren't understanding when they start investing in their business, which absolutely should do. Most agents are not investing anything or near enough in their business. And we are all CEOs of our business. And I don't care if you're an agent on a team or you're the team lead, you're still an independent contractor in most states and teams and running a business. And what I think the misconception is they're not understanding that not all leads are the same. And when I talk about leads and I'm talking with a team or somebody on my team, it's where are they in their journey? Where are they in that funnel? Whichever way you want to look at it in the stream, right? So whether you're doing, portal leads from Zillow, from realtor.com, whatever they are, they're at a different point in their journey versus if we're grabbing somebody on PPC or Facebook or at an open house, right? Not everything's going to generate and convert the same, right? The further upstream, your conversion is going to be less. But there's a reason why, nationally you're in that, $8 to $12 per lead range versus $200-300 or paying 30% of your commission.
Right. So why is that important for us to understand when we're making decisions? We categorize it on D, D, C, B, A, and we have different. I don't have time to draw it out because I want to make sure we get through all the questions for you. And we try to help our clients understand, those the what we call the cash conversion cycle.
Yep.
On the leads. And so why is that important?
Well, just because it's such your follow-up, right? So I know if I'm grabbing these leads off of Facebook, off of Google, off of, believe it or not, still Craigslist, still seeing leads coming from that. Anytime when you have to have like a forced capture, right? If you want to see these pictures, or you want this information, you must fill this form in, right? They're typically just, they're still just thinking about it. They're dreaming about buying or selling down the road. If I understand where they are in that journey or in that funnel, I now know what my follow-up cadence needs to be. I know where I'm not giving up. Well, I'm never going to give up, but I have an expectation set that I'm not going to see that conversion rate that you're talking about, especially on those PPC, Facebook stuff. I know consistent, I'm not going to see that for 8, 9, 10, 12 months or more. So when I know where they are in their journey, I know what the follow-up cadence is, right? I'm not going to spend a ton of my time on those people. This is where I'm going to implement a lot of AI and automations, right? This is where I will, if I have an ISA team or third-party ISA company calling, I want them spending their time. That's not a great use of my dollar productive activity doing that. I want to wait till they get further down, but I'm going to nurture them through. I'm not going to say they're a crappy lead or anything like that, but I need an expectation. I need to know that if it's an inbound, Zillow, Realtor, sign call, LSA, which we'll probably talk about a little bit later. I know they're further down the funnel or down the stream, and I need to stay in front of them faster. When they raise their hand, I have to call on them, right? We all want immediate gratification. And if I know where they're coming in, right? You have to, me, CRM Nazi, right? I need to know where everybody is and where they're coming from, because then I know their journey. And when should they get to the destination? And then it's just moving them through the funnel or, from pond to pond to pond until they're now working with an agent. So you just have to know where they're starting at if you're going to get them to the final destination, which is the closing table.
Would you agree that it takes a little bit, it's a little less emotional if you understand that process clearly, that it helps you get off the emotional roller coaster? Because this can be kind of especially when the money's going out, if you're a mid-level agent or newer agent, maybe you've took a little bit of a leap of faith in your budget, and you're like, sometimes I find that people can make knee-jerk decisions if they don't understand this process.
100%, right? I mean, and related to other things in life as well, right? You can't go plant the seed to an oak tree and expect to have a 15-foot tree in 12 months. You know, it's going to have to grow. You're going to nurture it, right, to get it to where you want to go. You know, if you're on a weight loss journey or physique journey, right, you're not going to get from where you start to your goal overnight. You need to understand, where am I starting? Where am I going? And then, right, if you're working with a trainer, for using that example, it's mapped out. This is what we need to do. Real estate agents, you know, we more than anybody probably want that immediate gratification, right? We're all over the place, people fun loving, but there are so many tools available right now that will help with this process if we just really have an understanding of, where am I investing my money in my business? And you said the words, the cash conversion cycle, right? So I know you've been tracking this. I track this for years. If I know that if I'm going to start doing PPC, Facebook, some of those forced registration, I know I'm not going to see a consistent return on that money, or that cash conversion cycle, meaning when the money goes out, how long till it comes back. I know that on average, that's 12 months. Will we fall into a few deals early on? Absolutely. But you're going to kiss a lot of frogs before you start finding that prince, right? And I just know it because that's where they're starting. You're right. If I want to pay more money for portal leads, that's great. I know that I'm probably getting a valid name, valid email, and valid phone number every time, because they're now inquiring and raising their hand, right? Substantially more expensive and getting more so every single day. So it's just really understanding, how do you build a database, right? We are going to live and die in this industry, you know, by our databases. And those of us that are building and building and building and building, and different revenue streams coming into it and lead sources, will survive, right? When I went independent to form Core Group back in 09, people said I was crazy. They're like, it's 09, the market's still doing this. You just went independent, took down a building, and you're starting a real estate company. You're crazy. No, because I've been building a database for years and years and years, and I knew that database was going to be king. And I was able to recruit like crazy and feed a lot of agents that were in the top of the market, because we've been building that database. And I knew for years I've been building a lot of these PPC leads. Facebook, Craigslist was crushing it back then. And they were all starting to incubate and get ready, because I knew what they were doing, right? And if we invest in our database, we know what's happening.
That's so powerful, because I'll ask people this question often when I'm speaking. I'll say, how much will you sell your database to me for? And I get all sorts of different answers. Last time, I won't mention his name, very well-known realtor, but he's like, you couldn't afford it. And I go, try me. You don't know how much money I have. Right. And we were just having a fun dialogue back and forth. And at the end of this common conversation, I said, Mr. Agent, do your actions reflect how much you value your database? And it was kind of like one of those moments where everyone was just like silent, right? Like, it's like, okay, yeah, if it is this valuable, what are we doing? And that might be a little bit of a different conversation, just like transitioning into lead follow-up and lead conversion. But I love how you mentioned the word investment. I was listening to you very carefully. You mentioned the word investment a couple of times. And I want to relate this to the stock market in your database, right? When you go to put money in your stock market, okay, the last thing you want to do with your database is be a day trader to your database, right? Like, you know, like, this is an investment that like, if you're going to go in there and have that day trader mindset where like, oh, you know, quick, and try to get, you know, like, and that's the process, you know, would it be safe to say that people are going to be disappointed more often than not, no matter what the lead source is overall?
No, they are. They are. And you and I have seen it. I saw it, you know, when we were running FirePoint, you know, and I see it a little bit even, you know, with Ylopo or with other teams, if we're just jumping on, like, helping in management. But I don't believe I think they hear the expectations that are being set and understand it, but we all want to focus on today's dollar, right? And today's deal. And that's fine if you have enough going, but then when that's closed, what's next? And we talk to so many agents that have that roller coaster going. And so two things: either they're not constantly filling the funnel, so there's more and more to come out the bottom, or they are not nurturing things. They're too focused on today, not realizing when today's over, well, shoot, another day starts, right? So you just have to move it along. We're very similar. We have A, B, C's, and then everything goes in the pond. Right. And we're building our team to where the only thing that the agents are focusing on are A's, B's, and C's. A's are buying immediate, B's are less than 6 months, C's are 6 to 12, but they have to be called minimum once a month. Anything else just goes in the nurture pond. And that's not a bad thing, right? Keep 60, 70 people in your database because you're just in tune with it. As long as you're always adding some C's in, the occasional B's and a random A that happen right off the bat, it's always replenishing and you're always focused. Let us use, our AI texting, the remarketing, everything we're doing at Ylopo to nurture, right? We're going to build. But the agents, this is what's crazy, is if you just use the right tools as an agent, you can focus on today's business, today's activity.
Right.
You don't have to focus on tasks and follow-up because you can use things like remarketing, Raya, AI, and all that to do that. As long as you are zoned in and focused on the daily activity that's happening in the database to be in front of it, right? That's what's great about what's happening in real estate right now is just the tech stack that you can build to where you're not doing, and let's be honest, you're not doing the job that you don't want to do. The pounding the phone and calling a brand new register on your website, 18, 19, 20, 30 times over the next couple months to let them know you're in front. A lot of that can be done for you now, but you have to be ready to act on the people who are showing buying signals. So what's great is we can focus on today 100% and not do the crap we don't want if you have the right tech stack and you're constantly filling and building that database.
Right. So I'd like to act when you see the buying signals. I think that's a really, really important piece because I see a lot of people, they'll spend all the money on the tech and they'll get it, and then they're still not acting when they see the buying signals.
Yep, 100%.
Yeah. One of the things that, here's what I hear all the time. I need more seller leads. Right? Like, I need more seller leads. And
don't we all?
Yeah. And look, yes, absolutely. One of the things that I'd like to hear from you, like when you hear that, what's your mindset, towards buyer leads, seller leads, let's just talk about that.
Yeah. Well, I want them all. You know me, right? I'm going to build a database because the longer I build the database and with the automation, remarketing, everything, at some point, once I get to a certain number, I don't have to keep buying leads, right?
Right.
At some point, the database is now, if you're building your database and investing in your business, right, you're now getting it to a point with remarketing and the right brand messages and everything you're doing, your database is just cranking. You can do that right now. It takes a while to build that, but it is an investment. And I don't think any of us that we all speak on the stage together got in this business to do it for a year or two and get out, right? So I want them all. Well, you have to realize, sellers are harder to find. They just are. When you're doing online lead generation or radio or television, they're just harder to find. Buyers are easier, thus less expensive. But keep in mind, right? I wouldn't say most, but a good percentage of your buyers are sellers, right? We're just not answering the right questions. So right now, what do you think if we had 10 agents on here and we asked them, what is the number one fear every seller has right now about selling their home? What do you think it would be?
They're not going to be able to find one that they can buy.
Boom, they're going to be homeless, right? Yeah. So where are they starting? So when we're doing all this lead generation, what do you think they're doing first before they talk to anybody about selling their home?
They're trying to find a house.
They're looking at homes,
they're
right?
At
especially
homes.
Right now. So you want sellers, you've never had a better chance that I've seen personally for doing online lead generation to get sellers out of buyer lead gen. They're scared to death they're going to be homeless because they don't know if there's a home out there that they can move into, right? So they're starting their research there. We are failing as an industry, I think, to ask the right questions and then shut up and listen to what they're saying, right? So to me, I still generate both, right? And I can rattle off a few that I think are great sources for sellers, but I'm still generating buyers. They're less expensive. I would say a good 30% of them are sellers. Yeah. Maybe even higher right now because they know that they've never had more equity in their home probably. So now they're starting to think, but I would say at least a third are buyers right now, or sellers as well. Keep that going, but ask the questions, right? So when you're getting on, and I always want to focus on the service, not the sale, right? How can I be of assistance? Are there any other questions? Did you know the website would allow you to do this to make your home search easier, right? Everything's focused on them and asking questions. But as you're having those conversations with them, there's just a couple that you need to, throw in there. And by the way, Isaiah, I got all the information of what you guys are looking for. That's fantastic. Should the perfect home come on the market tomorrow, are there any contingencies that you might need to fill to be able to act on it, like a lease ending, financing? I don't even throw out sell a lot of times, like a lease. And then, a lot of times, especially with their homeowner, oh, no, I own, I'm not renting. Oh, perfect. Is that something that you want to sell, right? You can tee it up. You just have to ask the right questions, right?
Yeah.
Or look at pre-approved. Yeah, I'm pre-approved. Perfect. The down payment for that, is that coming from the sale of a home, something you've already sold? Whatever it is, just ask the questions, right? We need to identify where they are, right? And
Yeah,
then
I love
have
that. We actually we have a really big ISA team, and we were running kind of into this. We actually took time. We retooled all of our questions and how we ask them to adapt to this market. And what we found is your numbers were almost right on point with what we found, is that we were drawing out around 20 to 30% more sellers by changing our conversation. And so where a lot of people who are overwhelmed by buyers, they're prejudging those leads, and they're not even calling them the way that they might in a different market with the same zest, because they're thinking they're not a seller and they don't need more buyers, right? Yep. And so
you said something there, and I'd love to dig. Now we're going to turn the table.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
You said that you're talking to a lot of buyers, agents, or they're overwhelmed with buyers.
Yeah.
Right now, what are they overwhelmed with? I'm curious.
So they're in their mind. The biggest feedback we get is like, I don't have any more time to work with buyers because I don't have homes for them to sell, and they're showing 8, 10, 15, 20 homes per buyer.
Yep.
So they're like thinking, okay, this is a buyer lead. So immediately they're registering in their head, I'm not going to call this because I can't work with another buyer.
Yep.
That's kind of the conversation.
And it is legit, right? They are, and I'm seeing it. We're writing more offers. We're showing more homes. So I totally understand and sympathetic to it. But I think there needs to be a mind shift there too. Is we've seen a lot of people, really drop their buyer lead gen. Now more people fighting over what little seller there is. I think it's a mind shift. Again, I'm still going to put them in my pipeline. I want more and more. If I don't have homes for them today, that's okay. We know there will be a change. We've seen those who have been in business for a long time. Not saying we're going to have a crash, so please no hate mail or messages. There will be more inventory. We will see adjustments. History is telling us that. So still build them. Just put them in the right pipeline. Your tools, your systems, your tech stack. Get them in your CRM. Get them in remarketing so that so Ylopo or whatever you're using for that is hitting them, keeping your brand in front of them. But keep building it, right? Because if you're overwhelmed with who you have, there will be some other ones that come in that possibly have a home to sell. What's great is by building that up, when you do find the buyer that also has a home to sell, great. First of all, 2 transactions, but now you have that listing, right? Now you've got all those other buyers that don't have homes that you can go to. So just keep in mind what your mission is. Still keep building. Keep taking them on, because it will shift. You still want to fill that database, fill that funnel.
I love it. So let's talk a little bit about, we talked about bad leads versus good leads. I don't know if you want to cover that. Is there such a thing as a bad lead or a good lead? We kind of talked about that a little bit, but that was one thing I think maybe we can drill down a little bit more for our audience.
There's not. We've all seen it. Any of us that have been doing online, yes, you get the Mickey Mouse or the Joe Blows or the ones we can't say anything we're broadcasting that register the bad numbers. But they come in, they go into a pond. Nobody gets deleted from our database. They just go in there, right? And they sit in we call it the graveyard. Nothing's happened. But guess what? They rise from the dead every now and then. They're on the website, right? I can't tell you how many people we've sold homes to from the graveyard, right? When they're ready, they update their phone number. When they're ready, they raise their hand. When they're ready, they will provide an email address. I don't spend a lot of time on that. Right? I don't spend a lot of time. If they come in, they don't get deleted. I see people that, well, I'm just deleting, it's bad. No, right? Because they may still have your website saved. And every time they look at a property, they see the phony information they plugged in. Sometime they're going to update that. Your brand will, if they use a good email with a bad phone number, remarketing hits them. When they're ready, we'll get it, right? So to me, there's no good and bad. I'll take them as they're coming in. They logged on to the website. Now, I'm not a huge go buy like cold realty leads, not saying they're bad. So I haven't had a lot of experience with that. Most of mine's all PPC, Facebook, and all that. But it's just, and that's not even true, actually. We've done a couple farming. We just put them in. We follow protocol. When they bubble up, we put in the right thing. But it's just have the expectation. Don't focus on the ones that haven't earned your time, right? You need to be sure and just focus on the ones that are active and doing that. Let your tools and systems do everything else. You focus 100% on the activity, right? And stop saying, well, I just need new because the ones I got 2 months ago were crap, or 3 months ago. But actually, you know what? I'm going to show you something.
Yeah, please.
I'm actually going to plug in my computer because I just started flashing that it's going to.
Let's go. While you're
realize that. So let me share something with you. Good or bad, they all stay in. Where is my share screen? Come on.
While you're pulling that 30-second story, I sent out a 20-second video text to a batch of Z-Buyer leads,
Mhm.
and then another batch to some Google PPC leads. And in that 20-second, within that, it took me about 10 minutes to do it, and I touched 200 contacts, and I got some negative replies, not interested, not right now, but I got 10 of them to reply in a positive fashion. And then between myself and my team's efforts, we set 5 appointments and got one listing from an hour's worth of work leveraging tools and technology. So to your point of leveraging tech, that would have taken me, when I was just used to just prospect, that would have taken me 8 hours to get that kind of result.
Yeah.
That we did in 2 hours.
Let them incubate. Let your tech incubate them, and when they're ready, when something happens, it'll come in. So for example, I just let me go to. I'm gonna do this one. So all right, so I'm just pulling up really quick. This is literally everybody who's agreement signed, active listing, appointment set, pre-qualified, shopping. That's it. These are literally like trying to buy or under contract or listed. 40. So there's 47 right there, right? That are just sitting there. Here's what I want to show you though.
Yep.
Come on, created. Created was more than. A year ago. Look at this. So 14 people that people would have thrown away 2016, 2017, 2013, 2011, right? Things coming in here. So we're a third of this is over a year coming in that are active listings under contract or approved buyers going for it right now, right? So you've got, you just have to let your systems incubate, right? They just literally sit in here and just literally wait until they raise their hand, right? All we're doing is letting dynamic listing alerts, remarketing, and Raya hit them. And then when they ask a question, we respond, right? So I guarantee you, nobody was going to, most teams, when I say nobody, most teams are not going to follow up with somebody from 2010, 2013.
Why would you?
Them and making sure they're still getting dripped on, right? So, and at about a 500,000, that's on the Boise team, $600,000 average price point, 14, right? But people just let that go. It doesn't make sense. You have to incubate it. And a lot of those would have been considered bad leads. In fact, we even started taking the lead source off a lot of them, so we don't want agents to see it. We also, I work out a smart list. In Follow Up Boss, and I want everybody to just be able to click. I'm just going to show you again. Show you something really fast. What I want them to do is focus on activity, like I said earlier, right? So we've created a list, 1, 2, 3, 4. They just go 5, 6. I have a 5.5 because I added one. I was too lazy to renumber them all, right? So all they need to do is come in, hand raiser. Who's got their hand in the air? Here's one. Grab it. They literally have just inquired. Who's engaging with HomeBot, right? So I want to make sure that we're hitting them. And these are just people who've engaged with HomeBot and that haven't been called in the last couple of days. So I have these lists automatically take out, hey, if they've already been called in the last 2 days, don't show them. If they're do not contact, don't show them. That's right. Great. So we work on a smart list, but we take it out, but it's inbound. Hot leads, these are people we've already transferred, the ISA teams have got them on. Hot leads, responding to Raya, inbound, right? They gave us a new phone number. We need to verify, is it the correct phone number or not? Priority notifications, they've done something on the website to deem a priority notification. The agents live here, right? This is where they live. They're not calling every lead 15 times. We've let the technology take care. So we've just done the shift to where if you're tracking everything properly and nurturing them along, your agents on your team can just literally deal with inbound activity and requests. But you can't just be buying new leads, hoping one of those brand new leads raise their hand in the first 10 days and then throwing away. That just doesn't work.
Yeah, and I love how you got that set up.
I hate bad lead. I hate the word bad lead. It's like, nope, I want it all. Put it in there.
Right, because you're showing us from 14, right? A lead from 14 that's now resurfacing.
2010, I think, was on there. Yeah, like, it was just crazy.
I love it. I love it. I think one of the things I just got out of this is that one of the things I like to train on is that There's a difference between a cold call and a smart call. And if you leverage technology the right way, like you're doing, you're making an intelligent phone call or prospecting call or outreach because you have insights, you have some sort of level of motivation on where they're at in the buying cycle based on how much they're interacting. And to me, that's man, I wish I had that system set up in 13 and 14 when I was just rocking the phone, because I wonder, like, I'm like, what would the results would have been like? Oh my gosh, it's so cool.
That's so cool. It's incredible, but it's just leveraging the technology and then not throwing anybody away, understanding.
Right.
We all have a when we're buying a home or relationship or fitness or whatever it is, right? And you just need to be followed along the way. And that's where agents are falling down, but it's easy, guys. Just build the tech stack to do it for you and then stop focusing on good lead, bad lead. And some are higher qualities, but get what you can. But going back to what we said earlier, most agents aren't spending money to invest in their business, right? And you have to be doing that. It's getting more and more competitive because teams are just, me, you, a lot of people know we're going to just keep building better and better tech stacks. Even 5-6 years ago, I could not just tell my agents, all I want you to do is deal with inbound activity, hand raisers, and phone calls. If you told me I'd say that today, I told you were lying, right? Yeah. But we've been able to now leverage the time or the technology to do so much of that. We don't need to, right? I will throw out a couple because I know they are asking. So seller lead sources, if I was going to try and target some right off the bat, this is a gimme, but again, most agents screw it up. Your past clients, right? We fail, make it easier. Get them all into your CRM, get them all on some sort of brand remarketing. So they're seeing carousel ads of what you're doing, what you're posting, they'll start interacting. And then I'm a huge fan of HomeBot. We built it directly in with Ylopo, so it's integrated. So not only are they getting HomeBot, but they're also getting property listings in front of them, around them, and it goes really detailed. They're dynamic, so it's constantly changing based on their behavior. But past clients, hands down. The other one that I recommend, if you're not doing LSA, local service ads, you've got to be doing. These are inbound phone calls. This is it. Literally, it's an inbound phone call from somebody calling you because of your placement on Google, being pre-screened, your reviews and all that. But most of these are come list me or I'm coming into town to buy. The great thing about LSA, you only pay for what you get, right? So if your budget's $500 or $1,000, it doesn't matter. It's right around $50 per valid lead. So if your phone rings and it's somebody looking for a plumber or a renter looking for rentals, you can challenge it. Now, if you're running it on your own, you have to challenge it with Google yourself to get refunded. We'll do that. I love it because Ylopo does it for you. They listen to every single call and challenge it, but that's a fantastic seller lead source. And any lead source that's an inbound phone call and you only pay if it's legit doesn't even sound right.
I've been doing massive case studies with agents that are integrated. A lot of our clients are actually your clients because we help them come in with the lead conversion part of the process. And so a lot of people are on Google LSA with you, through you guys. We actually started offering a masterclass and workshops along Google LSA because once we started seeing the statistics around it, it's incredible. If you do it the right way, if you optimize your page the right way, you get the reviews, you got to follow the process. There is a process and a science to it, but man, it's unbelievable. If you can. But
I mean, really, what other lead source have you ever heard of that is inbound phone call and you only pay if it's legit? I mean, to me, LSA to me is a supplemental lead source that has its own budget. Right. And if they can spend more, I'll give it to them. Because again, the only way I'm spending money is if I'm getting a valid buyer or seller on the phone. Right. So to me, that's a supplement into something else. And I would find any and every way to feed that beast as much as you can.
Now you have you wanted to have a conversation about database. And so I have this up on the screen here because we preach about database a lot. And I think you had some slides maybe you wanted to show us, and maybe that might be a good place to wrap up for this podcast.
Yeah. So, and I think it kind of ties in. Let me see. Where do I have that here? Share screen. So this really kind of ties into. I mean, it's database, but it's also setting those expectations. So this is a slide we're working on for the presentation. But I love it because we talk about fishing upstream, right? Lead sources, and this is not a bash on Zillow or Realtor.com or anything like that. It's just that when you get downstream, they're closer to buying, they get way more expensive.
Yep.
When you have the tools in place, when you say, you know, top of funnel or upstream, right? We're catching a lot of these little guppies, these small fish. They may not be ready yet, right? But they're $5, $8, $10 or $11 versus 200, 300,
right.
or 25, 30% of your commission. So thousands of dollars, right? You need to be able to start capturing them when it's just an idea and they're thinking about transacting, right? And I like this illustration. So again, most agents are like, these leads are terrible. They said they're just looking. They're at least a year out. Well, a year out to me is nothing, right? We all want to be in business for much longer than a year, 2 years, and we need to fill that funnel, right? So the whole idea is getting these upstream, like you're fishing them, right? They're just kind of aspiring, dreaming about buying or selling their home, right? You get them on the right remarketing, the drips, the dynamic ads, whatever it is. And then what's going to happen within 6 months? Now, you know, there might be fewer, but they're starting to mature. They're getting bigger. They're also starting to research a lot more, right? This is why we've built our follow-up cadence to really hone in on the activity. Our agents almost don't touch these at all, right? Our ISAs hit these, remarketing hits these, Raya ISA hits these, the virtual ISA hit these. When they kind of start getting into this, like within 6 months, and they starting to do more research, this is where our technology and everything's deeply integrated. So now everything's getting fed to the CRM, right? Isaiah returned after a month, 45 days of inactivity, or Isaiah's returned 5 days in a row, or Isaiah looked at this home 7 times. Isaiah added a phone number to his account, or Isaiah saved 4 favorites, right? They're starting to do more research, more clicks, things are happening here. This is where the agents start coming in and monitor that database and those lists us telling you, right? Who's a priority lead? Who's done this? Who's done that? That's where we really want to focus, right? So you're going to want, hundreds, if not thousands of these, because you're going to drop off, right? You're going to go from, 1,000 down to, for a team, you're going to drop down to probably the people that are still researching and going on, 600, 700, right? And then you're going to get down into 200, 300, and then that's going to come down, right? So you just have to make sure you're moving them along the funnel and feeding them along the way, right? It doesn't have to be time consuming. This should be almost 0 time. This is probably 95% tools and tech doing all of this work. These are touch points. These are touch points probably once a month until they really get into like this month 3 or 4, because they're going to start asking questions. But they've seen your brand, they've seen your ads, they're seeing the listings. Now they're on your site clicking around and doing all this. You've got them off the portal sites, hopefully, right? And now they're starting to raise their hand or doing more buying signals. And that's how you just move it along, right? The ones, the half that didn't come over here, guess what? They stay here. I'm not getting rid of them. I'm not saying these things are gone, right? They might be on a 2-year journey, right? They might be on a different journey. They stay here until they move here, and just literally move it along. You constantly have to be replenishing this because a portion's coming here and then a portion's going here. So you just have to move it along each time until they're ready to transact with you, right? So and all of that lives in your database. It's just, is your tech telling you what's happening, right? That's the key right now. If you and I had that 10 years ago, insane, right? We did it, but you just don't have to do that now. But you live in your database, build the tech stack to do a lot of the nurturing for you, because there aren't bad leads. If they came on through whatever portal, whatever it is, get them into your ecosystem, get them into your ponds, just start moving them along. You just have to do it, and it's not difficult. It's just, unfortunately, a lot of agents and even some teams won't stop or slow down enough to really focus on how do I nurture everybody along versus just taking out the credit card and buying more and then thinking the other leads were bad.
Yeah, I see a lot of times too is just taking the time to understand the tech to make sure we're maximizing the tools. One of the things that we teach a lot is if you look at somebody's business, if they're going to be successful, really in any business, they have to get their marketing, their sales, and their service to really come together. And if they get this running like a machine, they're going to do really well. Everything out, there's other things around us to support this, but within that, you have people, you have process, and then you have tools. And what I'll see is somebody will sign up to a company like Ylopo or other companies, and really just taking the time to explore of really how to leverage the tools and all of its capabilities, and really getting that process in place. So that way, especially if you're running a team, that way your team can maximize their results, or you can maximize your results, your effort. And I've heard you talk about ROT, right? Return on time.
Yep.
And really, for the time that you spend here, I'm sure you would agree, if you spend time getting this set up, that what you're going to get back in your own productivity is exponential. Would you agree with that?
100%. Yeah, I mean, there are just going to be times that you have to slow down to go faster, right? And this is what I love about right now. And you touched on earlier, a lot of agents and teams are just like, man, there's no inventory. I don't need any more buyers. You know, we're not transacting as much as we wanted to because of the low inventory. You have time right now then to get back into the tools. What tools had you implemented 6 months ago would be helping you right now? What were there things that would help you be more touch points in the existing database to get more buyers? Because again, if 35%, let's even say only 25% have a home to sell, well, if your tools are in place and you're generating, 3 times the amount of opportunities, these relationship opportunities, leads, guess how many more listings you would have had, right? So I agree 100%. You've got to take time to put the tools in. And I mean, every year it'll probably be the best time, but it's more important now than ever. You just have to. It's just the websites are getting more sophisticated, the follow-up, how they're being tracked, everything. So you've got to take time to, shore up your foundation, your tools, your tech stack, and then move forward.
That's awesome. Gabe, leave us with a final thought.
Oh, final thought. Wow. Don't get overwhelmed by this. I mean, first of all, you don't have to go it alone, right? There are so many teams that are doing this. There are great groups out there. So if you don't have a coach, get a coach. Companies like what you guys do, you don't have to do this alone, right? I think what you need to do is just start from a point of honesty, and whether it's with a coach or whatever tech you're looking into, and just be like, here's where I'm broken. Here's where our business is broken. Here's where we're at. And then find the tech that solves that problem for you, and then move forward. And then there's a ton of great stuff, whether it's Ylopo or not, whether it's what you guys do, doesn't matter. But invest in yourself, invest in your business, and find the right tools for you, or you're just going to get left behind.
That's right. I love it. Gabe, this has been absolutely awesome. This has been
thank you, sir. It was fun.
Yeah, if you're listening to this and you really need to look at your lead generation and look at getting the right technology set up in place, I first and foremost want to say, if you're a client of Real Estate Nexus, Ylopo is a perfect complement to what we do with our database marketing approach, married with some of their high-tech tools that maybe we don't have, and also their lead generation. We're not really in the lead generation space at all. And there might be a little crossover there, but we find Ylopo married with Ren works out. It works out unbelievable over the long haul. And so I'd recommend you check out Ylopo. Is there a place that you would like them to go if they want to check
they
it out?
Go to the website, ylopo.com. So I mean, it's just YLOPO.com. And you're right, there's a tiny bit, but again, you build that tech stack, there's going to be overlap. That's okay. It's an extra touch point in several areas. And it's touch points that the clients don't have to do.
That's right. That's right. Absolutely.
Yep.
And if you're kind of listening to this and you know that you heard the first part of this and you're like, you know what, I really need to get my database in order. I really need to find a better way to nurture and convert on my database. So go to realestatenexus.io and just click on the demo button, check us out, and we'll see if we can be of any help along the journey to making sure that you're nurturing and building your database. With that, Gabe, this has been absolutely awesome again. And again, congratulations.
Hey, thank you.
I'm really excited for this new chapter, even though you guys have been together for like 22 years already, right? Right?
Long time.
Long time, but it's really, really awesome to have you. And I look forward to networking with you again in the future.
I can't wait to see you on the road, buddy. Thank you so much for having me.
Okay, awesome.
Take care.